Hello, all, and welcome to yet another session in our Vision Pack series. I am Abhinav Banerjee, your host for today. So, our main aim with this series has been to bring to you the idea of visionary parenting, that is, parenting with a vision or a larger goal in mind. It's why we have covered so far your child's physical development, their cognitive, emotional, and social development, the storytelling skills, the importance of play, among other topics. Now, possibly the largest vision we can have as parents is for your children to grow up as positive assets to society, those who give back more to the earth than they take from it during their time here, and just be a positive, uplifting presence to all that they interact with during their lifetime. Isn't it true? Surely I speak for all of us here when I say that that is the biggest vision possible. But for that to happen, we must act now and we must start sowing the seeds now. And we do that by inculcating the right values and making sure they exhibit the right attitudes. Hence, our session today on raising children with desirable attitudes and values. Before we go ahead, I want to read out a quick disclaimer. So, this session is meant for informational and educative purposes only and not as a prescriptive guide. For the best course of action in case of any unexpected behaviors, please consult a qualified pediatrician or a developmental behavioral specialist. So now, what are some of the time-tested values of our society that parents should absolutely not compromise on? What is the outlook or attitudes the children of today must hold towards the future so they're not behind the needs of their times? And when do parents themselves know not to impose their ideas on the child and trust that maybe the child may know sometimes what is best for them? Let us try to find the answers to some of these questions today with Dr. Vishaka Vora, our guest. Some of you parents may already know her from our earlier session on developing emotional and social intelligence. So with a PhD in psychology and 26 years of experience as a counseling psychologist, she has worked with children, with youth, as well as with several leading corporates. She also offers career counseling to young ones in need of direction as part of Lakshya Career Counseling. Thank you so much for joining in, and we're very pleased to have you with us once again, Dr. Vishaka.
Thank you so much, Abhinav. It's a pleasure to be back with meeting all the parents. The last session was really wonderful, and I enjoyed it a lot. So I'm looking forward to this session as well.
Absolutely, as are we. I should tell our parents that, as always, we will take up your questions towards the end. So you can go on putting them into the chat box as and when they come up. And we hopefully will be able to address all of them in our Q&A session. So, Dr. Vishaka, I thought we'd begin by quickly deconstructing each term in our session title, namely values, attitudes, and desirable. So if you could begin by helping us understand values and attitudes, and then I will go on to tell them what we at Babler mean by desirable.
So welcome to all the parents. And so today we are going to be having a discussion or a conversation rather on values and attitudes. And the parents present here in this session are probably having children as young as the one on the right hand side in this picture, or maybe a little older, like the little one on the left-hand side of this picture. So you may also have, children, maybe, either they might be within the 0 to 3 years of age, or there might be a sibling that your child has, who is not in the age group of 0 to 3, but a little older, say 4 or 5. So do not think that the session is not for you or not for applicable to those children who are a little older. The session is applicable to all the children. And like we always emphasize in every session that we have, that it's always better to start as young as possible to, help your child develop what you really want the child to know or to learn about. So the younger, the better. So if your child is in between that age group of 0 to 3, wonderful that you're going to start early. But even if your child is a little older, there is no right or wrong time to start. So the session is for everyone who is, having children per se. let us look at the definition of values. So let me just read that out. Values are basic and fundamental beliefs that guide or motivate attitudes or actions. They help us to determine what is important to us. So when we talk about values, so generally each one of us has certain things that are extremely important to us personally. And those things are something that are so valuable to us that we are not willing to change them or have them compromised. We are consistently, following those things throughout our life. And what are those things? Now, let me give you an example to explain what I mean. Suppose you have a colleague who is, very, very punctual, or who ensures that every project or everything that they do, all the work that they do is very timely. So looking at that person's behavior, which is consistent over a period of time, you say that this person values punctuality. So this is something that is important for that person. So no matter what the situation is, whether it is a professional situation or whether it is a social situation, this person will always be on time. Okay, or possibly before time. So for this person, the value, the core value, or what is important to this person is to be punctual, right? Or, for example, you can also talk about, you say that, I have this boss who is, very nice. He is very friendly, and he is someone with whom I feel I can share all my concerns with. Why? Because the boss is very supportive or very caring. Now, through the behavior of this person, through the way this person is interacting with you are able to understand that this person's core value is care and concern for others. Okay, so this is something that is important for that person. That person ensures that every interaction or every meeting or every talk that they have with you, there that concern is shown, there that concern is visible. So that value of that person is visible through the action or the behavior that that person is showing. And what is it? So now you can understand that value is something that is different for different people, different values which are important. There are several values that are there, but what combination of values are your core values will depend upon you as a person. So that is what we define as values. Now let us look at, like we just discussed, that what is an attitude. Attitude is nothing but the way you think, feel, or behave. So attitudes are basically established ways of responding to people and situations based on beliefs and values. So as we discussed right now at the examples that we saw just now, through the behavior of these individuals, you were able to understand what is the value behind it. So it was a behavior that was demonstrated. It was a behavior that was seen. So being on time, taking care of others, or being helpful, or being, going out of the way to make people comfortable. So these are the behaviors, these are the attitudes that have been visible. And through that, you are interpreting and understanding what it means. What is the core value this person is having? And where is it that is it depending only upon certain situations you will find the person behaving in that manner? No. Across all situations, across all different times, the person will behave in exactly the same manner. So that is being consistent. So value is something basically which you will, it's a behavior that you will show consistently. You will be continuing in the same demonstration of those behaviors over a period of time in different situations. And no matter what the situation is, your value will remain the same. So that is what we mean here by values and attitude. And now, Abhinav, would you like to elaborate more on the desirable part?
Sure. So I think this is, as Dr. Vishaka helped us understand the distinction between attitudes and values. So simply put, attitudes are a function of values, or put simply, values influence our attitudes. Now, yes, we also say we are going to be focusing on desirable values and attitudes in this session. So when we say desirable, we mean desirable considering the greater good of the society. not just what seems desirable on the face of it to us as parents. So if we push our children to go for jobs that may make them great money or bring them great success, but at the cost of exploiting evils like class or socioeconomic divide or merciless exploitation of natural resources, that is not desirable, really. So we ourselves need to constantly learn, be updated, and keep ourselves in check, because generational jumps and the learnings that come with it are happening as fast as 5 years now, every 5 years. So, Dr. Vishaka, I want to ask you next. While it is true that society is in constant flux, it is changing constantly. There are certain values, surely, that will remain relevant and constant across generations. A few that come to mind are honesty, integrity, civic sense. They're not going anywhere, and you can probably add more to the list. So, how do you think parents can absolutely and unfailingly focus on inculcating these in their children?
Okay. Abhinav, like you said, there are certain values which are time tested and which are common across, the different time periods. So, some simple examples that we can talk about is a value like being honest, or being truthful, or respecting your elders. This is a very Indian culture value that we have, that you must always respect your elders. So these are certain values that have stood the onslaught of time. That is, they will always be there, irrespective of what are the environmental times around you at that point of time. But all through that, hundreds and hundreds of years down the line, we still say that being honest is something that is very important, or we still say that respecting your elders is something that is very important. So yes, these are some of the time tested values. Now, how can parents help inculcate these values? Now, we are talking about starting very young. So, what are we really saying? So, parents, beginning with first identifying what are your core values, what are the things that are absolutely important to you, and what among these core values you want to pass on to your children. Okay. So it would be an individual list, like we saw in the beginning with the examples. Like each one of us has, so the values are the same, but among those values, which are your core values, that will differ. So first of all, identifying your own values, and then having a look at how are you showcasing those values to people. Okay. Why am I saying this? Because first and foremost way in which your child is going to learn any value is by imitating you, is by observing your behavior, right? So you have to look at how am I showing this value? In what manner is my behavior portraying this value to others, right? So that people say, okay, people say this about me, like this person is a very honest person. So why do they say that? What are the behaviors I'm showing, right? So your child will observe, will see that, okay, in these situations, wherever honesty is required, my mother or my father, they will always be very honest in the way they talk or behave. Okay. So the child is going to imitate. That is one way in which you can inculcate. Another way is through stories. Storytelling is such a rich, way in which you can actually help the child understand and relate the importance of why this value has to be followed, or why this value has to be developed. Now we have so many options within our own Indian repertoire of books. You have the Jataka tales, you have the Arabian Nights, you have the Aesop's fables, you have the Vikram or Betal. So there are so many ways and so many books available, stories available, that you can read to your children, have a discussion. So having the next part, not just reading out the story, but the next important part is having a conversation with the child. So talking about what happened in the story, what were the characters doing, and what was the thing that was desirable there. So again, the value in itself will be evident. So if we are talking about, say, the story of two cats fighting over a piece of roti, and the wolf coming, the mother monkey coming in and taking away. So how he tricked them into giving up that roti. So, these kind of things. So having a conversation or having a discussion, what happened in the situation? So was it a good thing to quarrel, or was it a good thing to fight, or would it have been better to share that one roti between the two? So sharing is that value that is coming across the child, and the child is understanding the benefit of sharing, and understanding that if I also share, I will also benefit, and I will not be tricked by some third person into giving up what I have. Right? So stories, having conversations, showing through your own behavior, or making them, or even you can talk about. There are so many movies or videos available, which again in an animated format are showcasing a lot of values, which you can again take it further through conversations, through discussions, introducing new things. Now, many parents they tell me we don't know which books to buy. So stories are not always, necessarily available only in books. You can create your own stories also. Stories from your own childhood, stories from the situations that are happening around your home, or stories that you have heard from somebody. So you can have a lot of story building happening, and through them you can actually help the child develop these values. So that's the answer to the question: how you can, what are the time tested values, and how you can inculcate them.
Right. Of course, Babler is also an ardent believer in the power of stories, as our parents would know through our Babler stories. And I'm reminded of a reference here, if I a Bollywood reference, if I'm allowed to give one. So there's this scene in the film English Winglish where Sri Devi's character, the mother, basically has been snapped rudely at over the phone, and she says, laments later, saying, सब कुछ सिखाया जा सकता है पर किसी की भावनाओं का ख्याल रखना कैसे सिखाया जाए. Everything can be taught, but how do you teach sensitivity, empathy? So that can only come through the power of stories and through walking your talk, through practicing what you preach, as
And
you very
starting
rightly said.
at a very early age, and beginning at a
Absolutely.
very early.
Correct. It's never too early to start,
Absolutely.
teaching these very important values. Vishaka, with now the times that we are in, with increased conversations that we see around societal and environmental initiatives, Swachh Bharat, climate change, and anti-corruption drives, and so on and so forth. Children will grow up to be aware and very sentient of these issues. How can parents ensure that children become the agents of change for their generation, and how early can parents take action to facilitate that change too?
I firmly believe in the fact that, learning through doing, learning through action. So you talked about the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So almost each household nowadays has a wet waste and a dry waste categorization happening, segregation happening. So encourage your child. Even a young child will understand or learn to appreciate the difference between what is wet waste and what is dry waste. A conversation around it as to why it is important. How does that wet waste, how is it beneficial to further, turn it into compost, to give it as a food to our plants, which again is in turn returning back to us through, oxygen. So having that entire cycle explained to the child, right, in a very simple manner, and understanding the importance of it, that when we do this segregation, how is it going to help? How is it linked to larger things like, say, global warming, or to say climate change? So climate change, like a topic like that might seem like, parents might think, oh my God, ये तो बहुत बड़ा topic है. How is it, I will have a discussion about this. But, maybe you can start a conversation like as simple as, it's too hot today. And we have been having several days of very extreme heat. So we're all eagerly waiting for the rain. So what happens? Why is it that we are not getting rain? So that conversation could be a start to, what is happening, how the climate is being affected, how rains or the cloud formation is being affected, and why we are getting less rain. So it's like, it's a link that you are creating. And anything and everything around you can be a conversation. Anything and everything around you can be used as a tool to teach the child these values. Okay. So like we give this example, like, beginning from a segregation of a wet waste and a dry waste, so many things that you can discuss about. Okay. Another area where I feel that, another value rather I feel, which is very important that parents can, teach through their actions and by helping the child actively participate in is, the value of being open-minded or inclusive in terms of diversity. So we have so India is a hugely diverse country. We have lots of languages and lots of different mini cultures within the larger culture. So every individual place has its own distinct way of doing things or following things. So having that sense of being accepting everybody as the human being, that is something that you as a parent can demonstrate, and of course helping the child build up within themselves. So like when they are going to school, so they're going to be having friends from all parts of the country. They're going to be having north, south, east, west, all parts of the country. Or they're going to be having friends who are going to be from different backgrounds, talking different languages. So simple activity as sharing of food, tasting different foods from different regions is giving a child an experiential way in which to accept a different value or a different way of doing things, right? This is just a simple way in which you're teaching the child, like, everybody is a human being, everybody is, like, important, and everybody is valuable, so we have to accept everybody as they are. And this is how you're going to do it, through examples, through actually doing it yourself and showing it to the child. Another very important aspect in terms of building up this inclusivity or acceptance is, we every time any unfortunate incident happens within the society, we always talk about the importance of teaching boys to respect girls, or teaching respect for yourself to the girls. So this is also, that is something that you will begin at a very early age, wherein you are, at every instance, whenever you get the opportunity, helping your boy child, respect another person who is a girl, or respect somebody who is of the different gender, so that they are learning to accept that person as a human being and not as somebody who is different or has to be teased or has to be looked at or treated differently. So these are the things that can be inculcated, and that can be through, basically, as I said, doing action, through action, yourself doing it as a parent and helping the child do these things. So learning from their own actions, learning from their own behavior.
Right. So it's interesting that you mentioned conversations. So we at Babler, as it happens, have been very vocal always also about initiating the child to important conversations very early on. I mean, never underestimating their ability to comprehend it, and the depth or the gravity of it. And we facilitate that too through our Babler conversations. Also, like you mentioned, we in India, I think we are so privileged to, it's not called a subcontinent for nothing. We have so many varied cultures and exposure to so much that, open-mindedness is the natural outcome of it. And, now more than ever, hopefully we are on our way to building it.
And just a small addition to this, parents,
Sure.
do not think that your child is too young. It's just months old. How is my child going to understand? That's not the case. You can still have this conversation. Do not underestimate the capacity of your child to understand. They may not be able to respond right now, but they are, somewhere or the other, the recording is going on in their mind. That input is going in. So make the effort, even if it is as early as just a few months old child. Yeah.
I think that is the perfect segue to my next question also, which is, that there are several parents who sacrifice a lot, do a lot to bring up their children a certain way. Now, their children will eventually, through the course of learning and seeing things, will develop strong thinking minds of their own. And they may actually turn out to have value systems that are different from their parents, because they are their own person and you have to give them that. So, how do you think this conflict may be resolved, which is bound to arise? In that, should children try to grow, try to adhere to the same value system as their parents, or should parents adapt or change their thinking more? So, if I may give a quick example, I happen to be a millennial. Now we have 2 or 3 generations more that have come up since. And they're called digital natives, as it happens. So they're born in the digital information age. And during my growing up years, computers were just about making their way into our homes. So we had very strict hours wherein we could play or do whatever. But all other times were meant to be focused on studying and other constructive activities, because clearly working on the computer was not constructive enough. But today, if we are to stick to that principle, it may actually be counterproductive. If you threaten your child to cut off internet in the house, then they will likely miss out on learning about important opportunities. And if you deny them access to video games, then they may lag behind their peers in terms of life skills, hand-eye coordination, cognitive abilities, which some video games have been proven to help develop. So how to resolve this conflict, if you could just help us understand.
So, parents, it's very natural and normal for you to want that, to believe that your children will be turning out to be exact Xerox copies of you, just the way you are. But that's not really the case. That does not happen, because your children, they have a mind of their own. And as they grow, they are going to develop their own skills, wherein they will be learning to, analyze and understand and logically, think about things for themselves. And they will then, base their values based on their own experiences. So, having said that, I feel that, parents should definitely be open-minded to having their children. Let them experience, let them grow, let them, develop their own values the way they want, right? And of course, you as a parent have to be alert to course correct them if you feel that they're not developing the value in the right manner. But however, let them choose. Let them choose as to, what is it that they want to actually value, right? Now, you talked about being digital natives. So yes, it has been an extremely rapid change from my times when we didn't know what was a computer to today's times where, every child has access to a lot of digital content and digital, gadgets as well. So it's a huge and rapid change that has taken place. And definitely one has to adapt to the changing times. So here I would suggest to the parents that what you need to do is translate or try to transform the way in which you want your child to learn the value, and harness the digital media to be the power of it for your use. Let me give you an example. So suppose you want your child to develop the value of being concerned for others or being helpful to others, right? Now today all the classes are being held digitally. The child has yet to have an interaction, physical interaction with any of his peers in a school format, right? So on the screen, it is such a limited way, because since you are not able to actually physically see a person, all that you're seeing is the face. And, so there is a lot of things which are missing out. The body language is not visible. Actions are not visible. You're just seeing the face of the child. So here you can take, aid of something like the emoticons. Teach your child to, be there for somebody, show concern for somebody through the use of emoticons, right? So sending a smiley to a friend or sending a hug to a friend to show support. You are teaching that value to the child. Using the digital media, using ways in which are available to you or which are a part of your environment today, use them to convey that value. Use them to, learn that value, and use them to apply that value. Show it through your behavior. So you're just harnessing the power of the digital medium, and the value remains the same. If you look at, the value is the same. What is the value? The value is caring for others or sharing with others. It's just that the way, the implementation of it has changed to a digital medium. Earlier, it used to be probably like a physical interaction where you could hug each other, should give a smile, or maybe you could share things physically. Now you can do it via, digital space. So this is how parents can, help develop. And I feel that parents really need to be open-minded about letting their child develop those values on their own. In the sense, develop their own core value set, the value set that they feel are the most important for them, right? So many a times I have seen this conflict definitely happening, wherein the value of the parent is different and the value of the child is different. So in the beginning, I had given the example of punctuality. So if say the parent is somebody who believes in punctuality is a core value for him or her, and you have a child who is perpetually late or is tardy in his work or whatever, there is bound to be conflict. But it's just that if the parent shows that open-mindedness that okay, fine, for my child, maybe punctuality is not so important. Okay, what else is important for my child? So maybe cleanliness would be a value for your child rather than punctuality. So fine, encourage that, nurture that, give him opportunity to explore that value. Right? So there might be differences, but then you have to, be open-minded, be accepting, and allow the freedom, give the child that independence to discover and explore on their
own. Right. I'm so glad that, first of all, that we have an expert approving the use of emojis, because oftentimes we ourselves find ourselves questioning if, is it too frivolous, or, does it make my message a little less serious if I use emojis? But good, emojis as a way of expressing, we are all for it. And also, you mentioned, of course, the use of screens with children. So our Babler parents would also know that we have also been actively promoting the use of screen time judiciously, and that too with more emphasis on active screen time over dead screen time. In that, if you are interacting with the screen, there should be some participation or interaction on part of the child involved, rather than just passively consuming whatever the content.
Yeah, parents definitely. So do not use the screen time just as a distraction or just as a way to engage your child while you are busy with something. That doesn't really work, because it is not giving your child intellectual input. It is just a passive. Like you said, it's a dead interaction that is happening. It is the child is just passively receiving things. There is no stimulation per se. But if you use the same digital media, if you use it intelligently, if you use it in a manner which will be engaging the child's senses, will be engaging the child's thinking, will be engaging the child in developing his skills, then definitely it is good. But you have to decide as a parent. You have to set the limit as to what kind of screen time I am allowing. Accept the fact that screen time is a part and parcel of their life today, right? And it is only going to increase. It is not going to decrease anytime soon, right? So you need to accept that as part and parcel. So, but you as a parent or the adult in the relationship, you need to set the boundary as to how this screen time is being utilized. Is it being utilized constructively, or it is used for just, for distraction purposes? But so many children I see, they are, they do not eat their food without the favorite cartoon being on the TV. And parents allow that. Parents encourage that, even because they feel that at least they are free for that period of time while the child is engaged. But it is just a meaningless, interaction. The child is not learning anything from it. And in fact, there are so many cases where, many of the cartoons, people later on, they talked about, like, I find it, a particular cartoon. I remember there was this cartoon called Shin Chan. And many parents then complained that, my child is learning to be very aggressive, or learning to be very, abusive or offensive. The way they are talking, it's very rude. So, so you have to monitor what your child is watching. You cannot just use it just as a distraction for, you need to make sure that you are using that digital media in the right manner, in the proper way. So as I said, harness the power of that digital media for your children. Right. You have the power to take that power and, harness it and channelize it don't just let it overwhelm you. You are the one who is in the driver's seat. Remember that.
Right. So broadly speaking, parents need not be worried that there is a depletion in the value system from their generation to the next, right? They just have to come to terms with the fact that it may just be different for their children than it was in
Absolutely.
their
So
times.
I do not feel that there is a depletion at all because
Mhm.
the values are enduring. They are remaining the same. It's how they are visible, how they are showcased. It's just that that has changed. So,
Mhm.
there is an adaptation to the requirement of the time. So again, let me give you an example. Like when we were young, our parents did not really, emphasize so much on teaching financial skills to us, in the sense teaching us what is the value of money at that younger age, because they had that thinking that maybe they are too young right now. 1 year old child or 2 year old child need not really learn what is the value of money. But today's times, I feel that even a very young child should understand
Mm.
that he or she is privileged enough to have the money. He or
Mm.
she is privileged enough to have all those facilities and everything that is available to them, which may not be available to somebody else, right? And how to then judiciously use that. So when you go to a mall and your child starts demanding, all the toys or whatever, so it is you who have to teach the value of that toy, or what is, like, I have had examples of parents coming back and telling me that we have to keep on buying toys for our children, because they just get over those toys within days. They are, okay, now I'm bored with this toy, and now what? So do not. So you as a parent have the responsibility of thinking, okay, how can I reuse this? Reduce, reuse, and so same thing applies
Recycle.
to the toys also. How
Yeah.
can I reuse this toy in a new manner, in a more
Right.
creative manner, or in a different manner, to help the child learn something different?
Mm.
You can be creative enough to do that. So for example, if you have got, say, a hand puppet, so and the child has got bored of it and just kept it away, use the hand puppet to introduce a story, right? Or maybe you can use the hand puppet to use as a drawing tool, as a finger painting tool. So there are different ways. You can be creative. You can think of so many ways in which you can help the child learn through that same toy. So you need not keep on buying new toys all the time, because all that you're doing is you're giving up that responsibility of teaching the child. The
Mm.
toy in itself is not going to teach the child. It's how you use that toy to teach is going to make the difference.
Right.
So values are enduring. They have not depleted. It's just that the times have changed. We have to adapt the values to the current times, and the way in which you are teaching them and the way in which the children are learning them. That is what I feel. That's what I feel.
Right. Just as our devices and software need upgrades or updation every once in a while, so do we with our value system.
True.
Yeah. So we have been speaking of values so far, of course, which, as we established at the beginning, basically serves as the input that we give to the child. Now, attitudes, like we mentioned, are the manifestation of those values, among many other factors. So, is there a possibility to course correct if we see slightly divergent attitudes emerging vis-a-vis what's desirable? And if you could if you could help us with some examples there.
It is absolutely possible to course correct. Uh, and of course, it is essential that you course correct. Since you are interacting so closely with your child, it is your responsibility, or it is your duty to be very vigilant, to be alert to seeing where your child is going off course in terms of learning the value. And the minute you see that difference or a change where you feel that the child is not learning the right thing, that is the exact moment when you have to intervene. Okay. So let me give you an example. Like, so the value of being respectful to elders. Now, if there is, suppose, an incident where you see your child wanting some activity to be done right now, and maybe your parents who are with you, the grandparent basically of the child, says not right now, or says no to that activity, and then what happens? There is a tussle. Your child may shout, your child may hit them, and you immediately note that you are alert to the fact that the behavior of the child is not acceptable, because that shows disrespect, that the hitting or shouting at the grandparent is being disrespectful. So how do you course correct at that point of time? So what I would suggest is teach your children to be assertive. Now we generally understand the word aggression and submission. So let me it also may help you understand what is being assertive. So firstly, aggression is where you are basically retaliating. You are just reacting to something, and which is hurtful to the other person. Okay. Submission is where you are being very passive. You are mutely accepting with folded hands whatever is being done to you or being said to you, which is also not a good thing, right? Now, assertiveness is simply put where you are saying no or you are refusing to do things, but in a manner where you are not hurting the other person's emotions. You are also being respectful to the other person, not making the other person feel bad, right? So you are being assertive. Now, this is something if you teach the child at a very young age, the child will learn to turn conflicting situations into win-win situations. Okay, wherein the child is also able to put across his wish or desire that मुझे ये अभी करना है, okay, but in a manner where he is not offending the grandparent, saying things we should, which they should not, or which they are, doing things that he should not be doing, right? So you're teaching that to the child, and how do you? It's difficult. It's difficult to be assertive. So how do you teach that? So one is again modeling it yourself through your behavior, right? Two is where you are encouraging the child to think of ways in which, if he had reacted, so refer to this incident, like you have observed the incident, like I said, to the intervention part, have a conversation on the same day with the child, not the day after or 2 days later, because then by that time that child has forgotten what the incident was about. They have a short memory span, right? So in the same day or the same within a couple of hours of that incident, have a conversation with the child. See what happened. So the child will probably say that, I wanted to do this at this point of time. Dadaji mana kar rahe the. I did not like it. I was very angry with Dadaji, right? Because Dadaji said no. So I felt, so you are helping the child understand what is the emotion behind it, right? Now ask the child. Now, instead of shouting at your grandparent, what else could you have done? Something that would have not been hurtful to him, something that would have not, made him feel bad about saying no to you. So now you're making the child think. You're encouraging the child to develop his critical thinking, right? And these critical thinking skills will now enable the child to think of possible solutions which are not conflicting, but which are a win-win way, right? So the child will himself will tell you, okay, I could have, asked Dadaji, okay, can I do it just for a few minutes or for just 10 minutes, right? And then maybe you can go off to sleep or whatever. So you are encouraging the child to think of solutions which are win-win. You are helping the child to resolve those, issues, and see that will enable and help you so much as a parent. Because otherwise, if this has not happened, if you are not encouraging the child to be assertive, you are the person who is caught in the middle. You have your parents to take care of, and you have your child to take care of. And when you are in the middle of such a situation, then you're pulled in both directions. So it always works that you teach your child those assertive skills. And how are they important? If you teach the skills right at the child level, when they grow up, like say, for example, your child has become now an adolescent, okay? And as an adolescent, say the child is say 15-year-old, and or the group of friends that he hangs out with or she belongs to, they say, okay, let's all go for a movie today. We'll bunk our classes and we'll go for a movie. And now your child's value is being tested. Should I be dishonest to my parents? Should I lie to them? Right? That value is being tested. Now, if you have taught your child assertiveness, your child will be able to communicate to his friends or her friends saying that, look, I would love to come, but I will not lie to my parents. I will inform my parents, and I will, if they are okay with it, I would love to go with you. If they are not okay, And if I'm sure they will have their reasons for it, we will have a discussion. Then fine, I'm sorry, I will not be able to join. Right? So here, what has happened? Those foundation skills that the child has learned at that early age, he or she is able to help, is able to implement them at that stage where that values are being tested. Or maybe tomorrow in the corporate world when the child is working. Okay, again, where some situation where where collaboration is required, where getting along with people is required, working together as a team is required, right? Or so there again, the skills are going to be useful. Being assertive, wherein you are able to put across your point, but at the same time, you're ensuring that you're not hurting anybody. You're taking everybody together. You're taking a consensus, but you are doing what you believe is correct.
Right.
Right.
Right. I'm so glad that you brought up assertiveness actually, because my next question was going to be largely related to that, in that, how to encourage children to listen to their own voice, sometimes which may be at odds with the value system that they have been given. If I may cite a quick personal example. So when I was little, I don't remember this, but I've been told this by my parents. So a family friend had come over and so had their daughter, and she kept relentlessly hitting me, bullying me, picking on me. And I was taught never to hit anybody or hit back. So I just kept boohooing helplessly. And then her mother and my mother both came over, and her mother said, "Why are you just sitting like that? Hit her. If she's hit you, you're free to hit her back in self-defense. It's okay." I just looked at my mother like, really? Is it? So these are, the conflicts that that we are faced with often. So sort of how to tread that tightrope walk is an art to understand, right? Like when to listen to your own voice over here, blindly just following what value systems you've been handed.
And see, as grown-ups, our values are constantly tested. So today, I mean, the teenage age begins much earlier than even 13. It is like almost 10 to 11 years or even earlier. So, those values are constantly being tested by the environment that they're, living in. So because of peer pressure, because of what everybody is expected to do, right? And, so having those values as foundations right from the beginning, and knowing how to handle yourself in those situations which are going to pull you apart in two different directions, and make a decision which is like, the correct decision for you at that point of time. So if you inculcate this at an early stage, and that is why we keep on harping on the fact that, the earlier the better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because, and as you grow up throughout your life, whether it is your, work life, whether it is your personal relationship, your values are going to be, tested time and again. So the better you learn assertiveness right at the beginning is one way which we can always utilize it throughout your life, and it will be a big help.
Right. So yes, like you have it, parents saying instilling assertiveness is key, and what parents can help is with channeling it right, that it is at in the right amount, not too much, and so not too little as to. And also parents have to be ready for the day when children themselves, assert their career choices or whatever, by standing up to their parents. So, and which may not be a bad thing. So,
absolutely, because they will have, as I said in the beginning, they will have values which are different from yours. So allowing them that freedom, them, they will be challenging your values quite a lot. Trust me, as they grow older, they will be challenging your values so much. So, like I had given the example of punctuality, you might have a child who says, "Why? What's the difference in you? Why do you have to reach everywhere on time?" And then the parent has to explain why is it important for them. So, you will be having these kind of, challenging confrontational, conversations later on as the child grows older and keeps on questioning. But yes, it is important to have them that freedom to explore what values they personally feel important to them.
Right. Great. So, Dr. Vishakha, before we let you go, if you could leave parents with, 5 of, the must-have values or attitudes are, it could be more, of course, but that they should definitely ensure that children exhibit in view of the ongoing times or times to come.
Okay. Some of these values are, the time-tested values that we have already discussed, like say honesty, integrity, concern for others. These are something that, they have withstood the test of time, and every generation actually feels that these are something that definitely our children should be having. Now, some of the values which I personally feel are now required given the current situation or times that we live in, a very important value which I feel that children should be developing is resilience. Now, parents, what I mean by resilience is, there are so many challenges that every day we have, and rising to the occasion without feeling overwhelmed by it. So, for example, learning, trying, and learning from your failures. So allowing your children to fail and learn from those failures. So, for example, if your child has maybe building blocks as a toy, and is trying and not really very succeeding in it, but doing it again and again and again, allowing the child, encouraging the child, is building up that resilience that even if I fail now, but if I keep on doing it, I will definitely succeed. So resilience is something that I feel is very important in today's time. Adaptability, that is, changing yourself as per the situation requires, or changing yourself as per the demand of the situation. Like our children, for example, nobody was, really so comfortable or, conversant with having to learn through the digital medium. But today you see all children have adapted to the digital medium as a means of getting education. So adaptability, very important in today's time. Then we talked about diversity acceptance, that is all people, although they might be different, but at the same time, as human beings, so we need to be interacting with them and, behaving with them as a human being. Respect for others, independence, like so every person has, their own value set, and acknowledging and accepting that person's value set, even if it is different from your own. So this is something that you need to be encouraging both in yourself as well as your children, so giving them that independence, and of course, appreciating the independence of somebody else, being open minded to any a situation which is different, which you are not familiar with, being open minded to accept people who are different from you, being open minded to things that you never knew about. So I see a lot of conversations now, children also asking about what is meant by gay, what is meant by, third gender. So these were, conversations that we did not have earlier. So having that open-mindedness to even explain to your child what is it and why you need to be accepting even these people as part of the human culture that we have. And of course, very, very important in today's times is perseverance. Perseverance, again, connected to resilience, that we need to keep on trying, keep up with the effort. I really believe that our children in today's times are very much, they're so protected that they do not really, get the opportunity to persist in such something that they can actually succeed in. So parents, give them that opportunity, allow them to, learn by doing continuously, repeatedly doing the things and learning from that, rather than, helping them at the first step itself, or immediately stepping in to, give them support in the initial stages only. Don't do that. Let them persevere. Let them keep on trying and doing things. The more they persevere, the more they are likely to succeed. And this could be, again, we talked about, like, the activities that you do in the house, the toys that they are playing with, the stories that you're sharing. So you are teaching them what kind of perseverance. So just to give that example of, the story about Vikram and Betal. So the King Vikram kept on persevering and going to get the Betal back from, that tree. So every time, he did not say, oh, I give up. Oh, I'm not getting a good night's sleep because of this Betal. I might as well, let him go. No, he kept on doing it. So use these kind of things, these kind of support things, for stories or experiences, and let the child learn. So these are just a small example of, values. Again, as I said, you can develop your own list of values, what is important to you. These are some of the values that we say should be there, but you will have, of course, your own opinion. Now, I leave you with this thought, all parents. It's very, easy to listen to a conversation or have attend a session like this and say, yes, yes, it was very useful and, we should be doing it. But if you just leave it at that, you will not see any results. So doing it, actually acting on it and doing it repeatedly, consistently, persevering yourself in your efforts to inculcate these within your children is what is going to give you those results. If you do not do that, then it will just remain a good session that you attended. So
Right.
my request to all the parents is please ensure that you are taking those efforts each and every day to do these things for your children. Be responsible parents. You have chosen to be parents. You chose to be a parent. So it is your responsibility to do it. And your child is growing up rapidly. So those changes will be visible within a short period of time. So those efforts also need to be consistent every day, every single day. Right?
Right.
All the best to the parents for that. And now we can take all the
Absolutely.
questions that they have.
Yeah. I mean, what stuck out to me from that was that open-mindedness and adaptability is, of course, the top order of the day. Seeing that, rigidity and just being obstinate about things, helps little considering the states of the world today. And also, you mentioned, concern for others and respect towards others, which is basically empathy and sensitivity. And that coexisting with resilience and perseverance, which is strength. So empathy with strength, which is such a beautiful but a difficult combination to inculcate. But I guess that is the need of the hour and the challenge for all our parents to make sure children have. So on that note, thank you so much for that, Dr. Vishaka. I think that was so very insightful. And we are now ready to take questions. I see one from Meenakshi Gera, which has to do with something that we touched upon earlier. So, what to do if if a baby is a toddler and the grandparent doesn't always agree to your parenting ways? That how do we make sure they don't dominate, and how to participate in activities together?
Yeah. So, parents, this is a very common and frequently, asked question that because the minute people turn grandparents, when they are parents, they are very strict with their own children. But the minute they turn grandparents, they become very indulgent. They become very, soft towards their grandchildren, and they are the kind of, they kind of become a barrier between, you wanting to implement certain things for your child. So here I would suggest what you can do is one, be assertive yourself. Like, you have a conversation with the grandparents wherein you feel, okay, I feel this is important. Get their views also. Why do they don't think, it's not important? Have that conversation, okay, and reach a common ground. Reach a common ground, okay, these are some non-negotiables that we are not going to compromise on at all. So we definitely want our child to become respectful. We definitely want our child to become honest. So these are certain non-negotiables that we have common in our thoughts about that, right? So let us think of ways and means in which we can actually help the child develop. So having that kind of mature conversation with the grandparents, rather than just blaming or feeling, bad about it, because your behavior is being observed by the child. And your child is seeing, okay, you are feeling offended, or you are feeling bad, or you are not feeling supported, and you end up feeling, getting irritated or angry. Your behavior will be imitated by the child. Not understood, I'm saying just being imitated. So all you need to do is have an assertive conversation with the grandparents. Have that discussion wherein you feel, okay, reach that common ground. These are the things that we definitely should not compromise on, right? And then explain to them why you feel it is to be started right now. Maybe the grandparents come from the generation where they don't feel, like we talked about in the example of, financial planning or financial security. So parents may not feel. Their
Hmm.
generation did not have that. So have them, understand why you feel it is important enough to inculcate right at this age, and
Hmm.
then you can go ahead.
Hmm. I just want to quickly bring up a question that had been sent to us over email by Ishani Majumdar. So the gist of her question is she had enlisted a lot of concerns, but the gist of it is that her child is good in learning, grasping everything, and is exhibiting early signs of talent. In the Babler early learning program, is able to reproduce all the learnings well, but is often very stubborn, gets angry if his wish is not fulfilled, screams and cries, and bangs his head. So, what would you say to that?
Okay. So basically, Ishani, understand that your idea of a perfect child,
Hmm.
may not always be a reality. Why? Because your child is an individual with his own sense of, self, the way he or she thinks, the way I think it's a boy, so the way he thinks, the way he, expresses himself, and he is learning.
Hmm.
He is still growing and he's accumulating that knowledge, and he's still learning how to actually show it in form of behavior. Okay.
Hmm.
So what you might see right now as, or you might uh, interpret as being stubborn, could be just an individualistic way of, doing things, not following exactly what is being told, but exploring more, being more creative or being more exploratory in the way he or she is, executing what you want him to do.
Hmm.
Right. So you need to have that open mindedness in terms of, looking at how the child is behaving, and understand, parents, that your child is still growing. uh, you are looking at the child as if he or she is already an adult, fully developed and fully, mature enough to understand, but that's not really the case. the,
Hmm.
sti-
Hmm.
the child is still on an everyday basis, still growing, still learning, still developing, and still trying to figure out things by doing. And
Hmm.
that personality development, which will finally crystallize by, say, around 5 years, that is still happening. So it's a work in progress, right?
Hmm.
So give the child that kind of time to develop.
Hmm.
एकदम से एक इस इंस्टेंस में नहीं सीखेगा बच्चा. You have to give the time for the child to learn and understand, and that is where that importance of being frequent, regular, consistent, repeatedly emphasizing the same thing to the child, because that is what is going to, fix it firmly in the mind of the child. This is what I have to do, and this is how I have to do it, and
Hmm.
this is why I this is important.
Really
The more
interesting.
you do it frequently, the more it will be emphasized in the brain of
Right.
the child.
Right. Okay. I see a very interesting question from Saida here. So she says, many parents try to teach empathy or thankfulness by saying words like, we've done so much for you, we pay such big amounts of fees for you. And this is usually intended to sort of almost shame the child into behaving right, in that you better be grateful. So that kind of a thing. Is this the correct way of parenting? And if not, what could be the alternative?
So if you're trying to teach a child, by saying things like, this is how much we have paid for whatever education or for this toy,
Hmm.
unless and until the child has also understood what is the value of money,
Hmm.
the child is not being able to correlate. So what do you mean? What do you mean by, you're paying so much?
Hmm.
Because that reference point, comparing it with what,
Hmm. Hmm.
the child will not understand. So
Hmm.
firstly, help the child understand the value of money, right? There, the value of money is being taught through, like if you are out for an outing, so you can point out that there are children who do not have enough, or who do not have the same kind of privileges as you. You do not have access to same kind of things or toys or whatever, like, like you have. So, in comparison, so unless and until you show the child, now I wouldn't really recommend saying things in this manner, that we are doing these things for you, because that is right. You're right. It is kind of, incorporating the guilt in the mind of the child, that Uh,
Hmm.
so that is not. But if you want to develop the value of gratitude, Okay. There are different ways in which, so a simple technique for doing that is like, every night before going to bed, you tell the child, okay, let's look at three things that you are really grateful for today.
Mm.
Okay. And doing it every day. So three things I'm grateful for. So it could be like, okay, so my mama, takes care of me. My mama made my favorite food, or my papa plays with me. Three things that I'm grateful for. So when a child does it every day, the child realizes on his or her own
Mm.
that, being grateful for what I have and what maybe somebody else does not have
Mm.
is something that I should be, thinking about, or I should be aware of. So that is a better way, rather than the parent emphasizing or saying something like, we do these things for you. That will only induce guilt.
Mm. Okay. Chandrasekhar says, my baby girl is just 1 month. Should I start these activities from right now, or is it too early for the baby? So, Chandrasekhar, did you mean Babler activities or any of the activities we mentioned earlier on? So, you may need to be clear about that. But I think the broader answer to the question is that it's never too early. You can start with any of these activities from
Absolutely.
the day your child is born. Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So even if your child is 1 month old, you
Yeah.
can start, you can have conversations, you can,
Hmm.
tell stories to your child. You can, through your behavior, you're actually demonstrating to the child, so it's never too early. Please go ahead and start working with even with your 1 month old child.
Right. I see one from, I hope I'm saying your name right. Is it Jinagna or Jinagya Shah? So, if I choose not to give any screen time to my child, am I keeping him away from something?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are actually depriving your child from a rich exposure to a lot of things that could be beneficial. So, because today the child, if you are limiting it right now, you might find that your child is actually lagging behind with other, in comparison with other children. So, definitely, completely taking away something is not going to work at all, right? But as we discussed during the session, doing it in the right way, in the right manner. And I can read, she's adding that, should I replace it with books? So
Mm.
books have to be used in addition. Okay, books have to be used in addition. It is an add on, it is not an either or thing that you have to choose. Okay, because screen time is something that is a given in today's environment. It is a given, it is by default. You might prevent the child in your own home, but somewhere outside, the minute the child visits a friend's place and sees a screen, you can imagine what will the child feel, right? So you need to actually give that kind of exposure, but what kind of exposure, the amount of time you want to give that exposure, and to what end, how to utilize it in a proper manner is what you as a parent is going to decide.
Mhm. Is this, I think this is the last one we can take up. We're running out of time a bit. So she says, when I want to teach my toddler who's 2.6 years old about the wastage of water, I speak about scarcity of water in other places and how people suffer. Uh, but is it okay to show pictures of videos regarding those topics?
Of
As
course.
in where there is acute famine or acute distress. So,
Okay. So I would suggest, choose what you want to show. You have to veto it. You have to kind of make the selection before you show it immediately to your child. So I remember a very, very beautiful ad that I had seen where, there's a bathtub shown, and, the village women, they are carrying water on their heads, and they are coming and filling the bathtub. And then they have taken the visual to, Rajasthan, where, water is such a scarcity. And they have shown that how many kilometers the women have to walk to just fill up that one pot of water. So such a beautiful visual that, a tub of water that you casually use for your own bath, and you just then you drain it out. It requires so much of effort on the part of those women, and so many kilometers that they have to walk in the hot sun. So if you have something safe like this, which will emphasize to the child, please do that. You can find a lot of stuff on the net, but first veto it at your end as a parent to see whether it is appropriate for your child or not.
so Sunita says how to make children learn how and when they can tweak the values learned. So, of course, we did, referring back to the example of self-defense. So, of course, this is in keep in with the note of assertiveness and listening to your own voice and that tightrope walk of,
Yeah. Right. So when
Yeah.
you talk about tweaking the values, so the
Yeah.
child is going to adapt the values as per the environment that he or she finds himself or herself in.
Hmm.
So, anyways, the child is going to learn, or you as a parent, when you are trying to teach a value to the child, you will also be tweaking it as per to the current scenario, which the child will understand.
Mhm.
Okay. For example, if you're teaching the value of money, say for example, so if you say, हमारे time पे 2 रुपए भी बहुत ज्यादा होते थे, the child is not going to be able to relate. You have to tweak it to the time where the child is buying a packet of chips, say for 10 rupees or 20 rupees.
Mhm.
It is a tweak that you are making because otherwise the child will not be able to relate. If you tell your child, we used to go to school in such, hot summers and बिल्कुल हमारे buses भी non AC होते थे, तुम तो AC बस में जाते थे. When your child has never seen a non AC bus,
Hmm.
has never traveled in that kind of, so how is the child going to know? There is nothing that the child has, understanding of. The comparison is not there. So give examples that are relevant to the child in the current environment. So of course you'll have to tweak it to the present situation. If that's what the question is all about, if I understand it correctly.
Hello, sir. Hello, Vishaka, ma'am.
Hi.
Thank you for this beautiful session.
Okay.
Yeah. On my
Yeah.
question, I want to emphasize exactly what I'm trying to ask actually. So by tweaking, I mean like the example you gave about the self-defense. So the value we teach to our children that not to hit someone, but we also have to make them learn that if the situation is harmful, if they are hitting you back, then you have to, on self-defense, you have to hit back or in a positive manner, how to tweak the values. That is
Act
what my
according to the
question
moment.
is. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Assertiveness is basically teaches you how to handle situations wherein some other person is aggressive. Okay. Simple enough, I will give you an example. Expressing yourself that I do not like this. So you are emphasizing that this is me. Okay. It's important for me. So I do not like what you're doing. I do not like the fact that you are hitting me. So I am going to go away from you. And you leave the situation. If you tell your child or encourage your child to hit back, you are just encouraging aggressiveness in the child. And the child is too young to have the distinction that it is appropriate to hit in one situation and not in the other. So here you are encouraging if you encourage the child to hit back another child, but you are disapproving if the child hits your grandparent, then the child is not able to differentiate. Why is my mother saying it is okay to hit the other child, but why is my mother saying it is not okay to hit the grandparent? Right? So aggressive behavior is not something that you want to promote or you want to encourage. So you need to encourage assertive behavior. And in assertive behavior, you're just saying that I do not appreciate this or I do not like this and I'm not going to remain in this situation. I'm going to go. And speaking in a very confident manner, speaking in a manner which is conveying that, you are a person who will not be, treated in this manner, who is not liking to be treated in this manner. It works. I know it might sound as if it does not work, Sunita, but yes, I have seen children implement it. I have used it personally, and I have seen so many other students also doing it at older ages. So definitely it works. It definitely is more beneficial being assertive than aggressive.
Right. So it's about making the child understand and decide on the best course of action for themselves given the situation and be their own thinking person. And that's what we want.
Standing up for them.
Standing up to whoever is needed to be stood up to. So great.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great. So yeah, on that note, I think that's all the time we have for questions. If you have any others, of course, our Babler customer care number remains open to you. You can send them there. And Vishaka, do you have any parting words that you want to leave the parents with? How can they reach you should they want to?
I leave you my contact details. In case any one of you has any more discussion that you further want to do, or clarify any doubts or have any questions. So this is my mobile number. Send me a WhatsApp message and fix up an appointment. You can send me a mail at vishakha@luxcounseling.com. You can also visit our website, which is www.luxcounseling.com. So feel free to reach out. And parents, it's always great to have interactions with you. So just a request, take an appointment, and would be lovely to meet you and help you out.
So yes, we have someone saying thanks for the session. Thanks to all of you for joining in, and
it was lovely.
the biggest thanks to you, Vishakha, for making time today. I think we have all benefited greatly. So thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.